had one another and they said the same thing. But something was happening. The people were together, and the Bible says, the Lord said, behold, the people is one. That means there was unity. They were able to make a decision because everyone, whether they agreed or not, they just supported each other. If I can just make my first point, sometimes you got to be able to support somebody even though you may not agree with everything about that person. I don't know where that lie came in, where if I can't agree with you, I can't support you. That's the problem, not just with the body of Christ, but that's the problem with the world in general, is learning how to support each other whether or not you agree with them. The truth of the matter is everybody doesn't agree with what you are doing. Your ideas are not always the best ideas anyway.
That's right. Amen.
So the Lord said the people is one, and they are speaking the same language.
Yes.
There is one thing basic with communication. Whether it is verbal, whether it is written, you must understand what is being translated to you.
Yes.
If you are speaking a language to me that I have not studied or I have not heard, it is nothing but noise to me.
Amen.
I don't understand what the words mean. I don't have any recollection. I can't associate it with anything. The sentences that I am forming with my mouth, what the noises I am making is nothing but language over time. People have decided if I make these sounds together and these words together and do it over and over again, the person next to me, so it is an effective way of communication. So you must be able to understand the person next to you. I don't know if anybody ever bought something from the store before. Now, one thing about me, if I'm buying a cabinet or something else, I'll pay an extra $20. Y'all put it together in the store. I don't want my mother smiling too much because I used to sit in the living room for hours and hours and just stare at it. Screws be all over the floor. I didn't understand. But the worst thing you can get is if you buy a cabinet and go to pull out the instructions, and the instructions are all in Italian. They're all in French. They put the wrong paper in the box. So now you're sitting up there trying to look at the picture and hope that some kind of way I can understand that I should have 4 A screws and 6 C screws, but the C screws just look like the D screws, and the E screws look like the F ones, and one just fell over there. Don't step on it. It's over there. I need that one. But you don't understand the language. So in order to get anything accomplished, you've got to have an understanding of what is being said. But get this, there are many people that speak the same language but are still not communicating with each other. You can speak English and I can speak English, but we are not communicating with each other. Sometimes I found in the English language that words have different meanings. I consider myself a literalist. It takes me a long time to understand the slang and how things mean different things. Usually if you're going to take a long time, you tell me I'm going to take a long time. Don't tell me you're going to take a minute. A minute is 60 seconds. Last I checked.
That's right, Pastor. Amen.
I ain't seen her in a second. You just saw her. I don't understand. But if you're not able to communicate effectively, so in order to get anything accomplished, you must understand and communicate with the people around you. So these people were able to communicate with one another. But not only were they able to communicate, but they were able to say the same thing and understand. They spoke the same language. So the Lord said they all have one language, and now this thing they began or started to do. So they spoke the same language, but then they decided had to take action. And they took action. The word begin is an action word. Many of us miss that in our lives, is learning when to take action. Being full of talk is nice, but not doing. It's all about learning when to do.
Amen.
These people talked about it. You've met those people. They talk about what they're about to do. They talk about what's about to happen. They're always trying to sell you something, always trying to hand you something, but there seems to be no action.
Amen.
In their life. I need you to show me some action.
Yes.
Now, how many of you, if you had a serious medical concern, you would go to a doctor and it was his first day opening the practice? Well, I won't give him a chance, I think, well, everybody deserves an equal chance, Everybody got to learn.
Not on me.
Exactly.
Not on me.
You want somebody with some experience. But you know what experience is nothing but previous action.
Yes, definitely.
You want somebody who took the action before. You go to a lawyer, you want them to have been to court before. This is not their first time in court sitting there with you. So the people now took action. They said the same thing, but they communicated enough to take action.
Yes.
They didn't just sit in the car. Cars are wonderful things, but you can get a couch. There's nothing wrong with just getting a comfortable car and just sitting there. You at some point ought to take some action. So the people took action. This they began to do. And the Lord himself said, nothing will be restrained from them. That means anything, catch this, good or bad, nothing will be kept from them. Not that they have said it to do, but then he used the word, that they have imagined to do. That means if it crosses their mind. So in other words, it is possible to make your imagination reality.
Amen.
Some of us have some powerful imagination. Some of us imagine some things good, and sometimes you imagine some things bad.
Yes.
You see somebody you don't like, and some things may cross your mind. You have to say, Lord, help me not to imagine
Amen.
that. That's my boss. I should not be imagining those things. Change my imagination. That nothing shall be kept from them that they have imagined to do. But I want you to catch this. Let us go down. The people were unified and were taking action. So now God himself said, let us go down. The people were so united, the Lord himself said, I need to come down from heaven to see what's going on. And scream at somebody and say, get God's attention. Get God's attention. These folk got God's attention.
Amen.
He had to stop from what he was doing. And he had to go down. And he said, let us confound their language. Not let us destroy all of them. They were building a tower to go directly to heaven. But see, God knew, I want you to catch this, if he would have destroyed the tower, they would have built another one. I hear the Holy Ghost right now. Some of us have the wrong prayer. You want God to do something to your enemies, but I want you to understand, you need to ask God to confuse their language. If somebody's plotting against you, if he stopped that plot, they'll do another plot. But confuse their language. Let them not even be understand. When they try to talk about you behind your back, let the person not even understand. No, I don't know that to be true about that person. So I'm not listening to a word you're saying. Confuse their language. He said, let us go down and confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So now we find in the book of Genesis an instance where the people were on one accord, and God himself said, let us go down, and we now have to confuse their language. But now we jump into the New Testament. And here we are in the book of Acts. This is directly after Jesus died on the cross and ascended to heaven. And we find in the book of Acts, it says, when the time of Pentecost was come, they were all in one accord and in one place. In other words, now we have people again in one accord,
Yeah.
in the same place.
Yes.
And in order for anything to happen, you have to be in one accord. Now listen, oftentimes when we talk about being in one accord, we're talking about getting along with each other. But sometimes we are not in one accord with ourselves.
Amen.
My mind is telling me this, but my heart is telling me to do something else. We need to get in one accord with ourselves. Oftentimes we don't make any moves because we're too indecisive. I'm not sure if I should do this, if I should do that. Just do it and see if it works. You know, you can spend more time just not being sure about something. What should I wear today? Well, at some point you got to wear something. The worst thing than making the wrong decision is making no decision at all. Don't you understand that? That's worse than making the wrong decision. And can I just be political for a moment here? Please don't think that if you don't vote, I'm so sick of everything that's going on, so I ain't voting. When you don't do it, you're voting for the worst candidate. I want you to be clear on that. You're not going to not elect the president because you didn't vote. Well, Darden didn't vote. We're not going to have a president this year because we were waiting for her to. Life will pass you by whether you make decisions or not. I find out the world is going to go around whether you make decisions or not. Time is going to move forward whether you make decisions or not. Sometimes you just got to stop and just make a decision, make a choice. So the people were coming. They were in one accord and in one place. Sometimes it's just hard to get people in a room together. But they were in a one accord and one place. And suddenly came a sound from heaven as a rushing mighty wind. Yes. And it filled the house where they were sitting. When you are in one accord and when you are in one place, I want you to understand that we serve a God that will move suddenly. Yes. There is something about sudden movement. It's the element of surprise. One thing I just didn't like about modern television, I remember when they were in Iraq and they were showing the wars and they were about to go and invade one of the enemy camps, and they were on TV. We're about to go in now, guys. Shh. They have no idea we're coming. I'm sure that he gets CNN just like everybody else. Why don't you turn off the camera until after? The element of surprise is important. You will find out anyone who is in the military or the army or any branch of the armed forces, in order to get the enemy, you must surprise them. You notice most attacks will happen early in the morning or late at night. When did they get Osama bin Laden? It was early in the morning while he was asleep. Saddam Hussein late at night. All of the attacks happened off hours. So then suddenly there came a sound from heaven as a rushing mighty wind, and it filled the house where they were sitting. Now verse 5, it says, and there were dwelling at them Jerusalem Jews, devout men of every nation under every noise. Now when it was noised abroad that the multitude came together, everyone was confused, because every man heard his own language. So here's what happened now. When in the book of Genesis, the people were together speaking one language. And in order to stop them from what they needed to do, God had to confuse their languages. But now we look in the book of Acts and the exact opposite just happened. The people were together and they were one accord. And what the Lord did was he united their language. They previously could not understand each other, but now they could. See, I found out there's more than just verbal communication. There's more than just written communication. The most effective communication is verbal and visual communication mixed with each other. Written communication, you can't see the tone of someone's voice. You can't see their body language. I remember someone told me the story, and there was a man who was blind, and his son was away. His son was away in college, and his son wrote him a letter, a real simple letter, and someone came to read it to him, and they said, he asked, what does it say? And they said, hey, your son wrote you this letter. Daddy, send money. And he said, I can't believe that his son would be so insensitive and write a letter. Daddy, send money. What kind of mess is that? That seems so horrible and terrible. But some time went by. Another person picked up the letter. And he said, well, what did the son write? They said, the son wrote, Daddy, send money. But wait a minute, it sounded like the same thing, but the tone of voice was changed. So in other words, with communication, sometimes it's just not the words you speak, but it's the tone. You have to make sure people understand. So what am I saying now? These people were around each other, and they did not speak the same language, but what God does is he will allow you to understand those you could not understand before. You've all seen those people, whether they're married or whether they're friends or they seem to be around each other. They seem to have nothing in common, but their love for each other unites them. So now everyone was confused because they heard one another's language, and they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, behold, are not these which were speaking in Galilean and the other languages, and now how are they able to speak? As I get ready to close in the presence of the Lord will allow you to understand enough for you to take action. A lot of times you can't move forward in life or with certain things because you simply just don't understand. I remember one thing I learned. I never studied law, but one thing I remember, when you read about any law, one of the basic things or one of the basic principles of law is ignorance is never a defense for breaking the law. In other words, you can never go in court and say, because I did not know the law, I should be excused. There's people in jail right now because they did not know the law. There's people paying all kinds of fines in court because they did not know the law. They did not have an understanding. So now what God will do for us is he will grant us an understanding in order for us to move forward. There are folks that haven't talked to each other for years simply because of a misunderstanding. And can I just tell you something just real? Can I just break it down to you? Okay, thank you, Brother Walter. I'm gonna talk to him. Nobody else said a word to me, Walter. I was wondering. But if I can break it down to you, because every one of us might have, or let me speak for myself. I'm guilty of doing it. Everybody may not be guilty of doing it. But I'm going to break it down. If the person didn't say it directly to you, in other words, let me put it like this. Don't accept anything someone says as true unless they said it to you themselves. Stop listening to what someone else said about you. Can you believe what she said about you? What you heard that they said? There's a lot of misunderstandings of things going on because we listen to too many news reports. There's people not speaking, good friends not talking to one another because they heard what the other friend said about them. If you can learn to live your life this way, if they don't say it to me, I'm going to act like they didn't say it until they said it to me. Well, they might be being phony. Well, until they show me another side. As long as they treat me right.
Amen.
Well, don't you want to see the real them? I stopped by to tell you, and listen, you must understand this. The Bible says it, and the truth of the matter is, everything in darkness always comes to light on its own. If somebody's no good, trust me, they can't fake it, but so long. They will show their true colors to you after a while. You don't have to listen to anybody else's report. They'll show who they are to you. And I don't know if you lived long enough, you've had that experience. They told me how you were, but I didn't believe it. But I saw it for myself.
Yes.
Sometimes we just need to get a better understanding. But many of us are destroying relationships with each other, relationships with people based on misunderstanding, based on what somebody else said. And the truth of the matter is, what if you were everything they said about you? Lord have mercy. That's how we treat other folks. Just because they said it about them, it must be true. But what if you were every single thing that folks said about you? You know good and well that you're not that. So stop listening to the voice of others. If somebody's no good for you or no good for me, you don't have to keep trying to convince me. Just let that person show themselves. As a matter of fact, I've become suspect of someone who tries too hard to convince you how bad somebody else is. You're working a little too hard for that. Are you getting extra money for doing this? What is your benefit? Got to be very careful. Some folks, listen to this, want to tell you how bad someone else is for you because they are jealous of what you and that person have together. Gotta be careful. Lord said the people are one, and they all have one language. Last point, ineffective communication. Understanding one another is important. But then they tell a communicator, when you speak, you must speak so that everyone you are speaking to understands what you are saying. If I'm giving a speech to a group of first graders, and I say, how splendiferous it is to be here in this wonderful edifice on today. It is very didactical what your educator just said to you. Those are English words. And I use them in the correct context, but you're talking to first graders. You might have made yourself feel real good, but all they heard is wah wah, just like on Charlie Brown. They didn't understand a word that you were saying. In communication, listen, it's not just you understanding what you're saying, but the people around you must understand what you're saying as well. So if I hurt my brother or my sister, whether or not I meant to or not, if they got hurt, they still got hurt.
Amen. Yes. Right.
Intention has nothing to do with communication. If they didn't understand what you were saying, they simply didn't understand it. If you're backing out the driveway, you didn't see the person behind you and you hit them, you can say, I'm sorry all you want. That don't make them less to hurt. Oh, my leg don't hurt because she said sorry. Many of us walk around in our lives hurting other people, but I didn't mean to do it. They shouldn't be upset. It wasn't my intention to do it. They shouldn't be upset. Sometimes it's not your intention, but you got to be very careful, not just that you understand what people say, but that people understand not just what you say, but understand your actions, understand what you do. Lord, help me so I come off the right way to everybody else. Help my demeanor. Help what I say. Help me be understood. The truth of the matter is, I learned, Walter, a long time ago, sometimes it ain't all about me.
Talk about it, Pastor.
Sometimes we really just think, just walk around this world. It's just all about me. I says what I want. I do's what I want. I'm grown. You know what I found out? The older you get, you always have to listen to somebody. It's so funny to hear the children. When I get in my own house, I do what I want to do. That's a lie. Because in order for you to afford to pay for the house that you live in, you got to listen to somebody. I own my own business. Well, let me talk to the business owners. Any business has to have customers. You got more than one boss. Actually, that's worse. Because if you don't fulfill that order, you can't eat tonight. You always have to listen to somebody. Well, that ain't true. When you get in your car, go down Park Avenue 90 miles an hour if you want. Just keep on driving. It's gone. I don't have to listen to it. Just keep on doing it. You see some lights, just keep on driving. I ain't stopping. I ain't got to listen to nobody.
You'll wind up in jail.
You always have to listen to somebody. Lord, Reverend said, wrote a song, Lord, help me to listen. It's just not for the children. It's for the adults as well. It's for everybody else. Sometimes we've got to just simply learn how to listen. We get in trouble because everybody's standing. We're closed. That was too starting to doing bad. We get in trouble because we don't listen. The songwriter said, oh, what peace we often forget. Oh, what needless.
Hang we bear.
Needless. Hang we bear. All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. What is prayer? It's
communication with God.
Prayer is communication
With God.
God
Yes.
says you didn't have to go through that. All you had to do was talk to me.
Yes. Yes.
I learned from my struggle. You could have learned from your prayer. All you had to do was ask me.
Yes.
I've been looking for my keys all day. Well, I didn't know what you were running around doing. You didn't say a word. They said right here. Running around looking mean, not saying nothing, turning stuff over. All you had to do was say something. Sometimes we just gotta learn how to say something. Communicate. Lord, help me to listen. Not just help me to communicate, but Lord, help me to listen. Tell somebody, Lord, I'm willing. Actually, tell the Lord, I'm willing to listen.
Lord, I'm willing to listen.
One more time, Lord, I'm willing to listen.
Lord, I'm willing to listen.
Clap hands and give the Lord a praise.